What's up, y'all? This is Reggie White, aka Bullet, aka Speeding Bullet, aka the Minister of Defense, bringing you another podcast. So, before I get started, just want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the podcast, everyone who has liked, commented, shared, uh, gave all types of inspiration, that have inboxed me, that have saw me on the street and said that they enjoyed the content, that they enjoyed the space that we're trying to create over here. So I just want to take the time out to thank everybody who has had a chance to watch some of these videos and to like, share, comment. If you would like to take part in this conversation, definitely appreciate the opinion of everyone. So uh, what I wanted to do this time around was uh, kind of start a part of this podcast that I want to be a little consistent. Now, when I first started this, I didn't want it to be something where I was bogged down to have to produce a show every week or twice a week or anything of that nature. I wanted it to kind of be free flowing. So I wanted to be able to kind of talk about events as they happen, talk about current events, things that are happening in our culture, things that were important to me, things that I felt as though were conversations that I've had and I continue to have with people who are in my circle. So that's what I wanted this format to be, and that's probably what it's going to be. Just in general, just very, very free flowing. And as things happen, I jump on here and I have a conversation with y'all. But one part of this space that I wanted to be a little more consistent is politics. Something that is very polarizing. Whether or not you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, or however you identify, politics can be very polarizing. It also can be very just dismissive, especially in the black community and the black culture. Our connection to politics is very, very finicky. Because traditionally politics has not worked for black people. Even before it was very difficult for us to vote, and even with us having an actual having the ability to vote, whether or not our vote has been taken for granted, whether or not our vote has been taken seriously, has been something that has been a question in the black community, where a lot of black people have just checked out of the political process entirely. So that's something that I wanted to kind of talk about today. It's kind of the state of politics and the state of where we're at in politics, at this very specific moment, which is January 22nd. So today, if not, I believe yesterday, Ron DeSantis, he withdrew from the Republican primary, which I thought was kind of unusual, and I'll tell you why. Ron DeSantis had recently just came in second in the Iowa caucus. Nikki Haley came in third. So I thought that Ron DeSantis was going to, at the very least, kind of see his campaign through, at least through the next couple of primaries. I'm sorry, yeah, the next couple of Republican primaries, just to see where he stood. Just in his quest to win the party nomination. But I guess he did the calculus and said and thought or believed that he didn't have much of a chance to gain any ground. And with South Carolina being not the next but the following Republican primary, that South Carolina is Nikki Haley's home state. So I don't think that he wanted to suffer an embarrassing defeat. So he decided to drop out of the race. However, I think that Ron DeSantis, that his time as a presidential candidate has been a disaster. I mean, Ron DeSantis, in all of his whiteness and in all of his hatred and bigotry, and really pushing a lot of the agendas that conservative, ultra conservative Republicans have been trying to push for a long time. He actually was able to get those things passed in Florida. So, pushing that out nationally, I thought that Ron DeSantis had a message that Republicans were going to listen to. However, Ron DeSantis is a terrible politician. I mean, he's just terrible in the sense of He's not charismatic. He doesn't give people. He doesn't instill hope in people. He doesn't instill confidence in people. He's just very awkward when he's on stage. He's very awkward when he's answering questions. He wears boots with heels on it and risers on them. I mean, he's just a bad politician. I mean, whether or not however way you feel about politics, being a politician is a skill, and Ron DeSantis is not really good at it at all. It's actually terrible, and it showed at almost every turn. He did something that just people just scratch their head, or just his mannerisms would just turn people off. So Ron DeSantis really just did not have the charisma of someone who could instill confidence in people. Unlike someone like Donald Trump, who does have that type of charisma, love him or hate him. Donald Trump that has the ability to motivate people. He has the ability to get people to follow him. Something that Ron DeSantis does not have and will never have. So glad to see him going. However, now we're left with Nikki Haley and Donald Trump, which should be an interesting match. I think that Donald Trump is going to smoke Nikki Haley, and not because anyone is better or worse, but just because I don't feel as though the Republican Party has any place yet for women, to be able to put a woman in charge, to be able to put a woman into the highest office. I just don't feel as though Republicans are that liberal enough to be able to do that. I just don't believe that across the country they believe that a woman has the ability to lead. Also, I don't believe that that Donald Trump is gonna accept defeat. So Donald Trump is if he loses, he's gonna say that it was rigged. He's gonna say it was stolen. He's gonna give every excuse in the book to how he lost, except for that folks just were not feeling him. But Donald Trump is not going to take that. He's not going to accept that. He's not going to allow that to happen. So I believe that if he does lose, that Donald Trump takes his vote and leaves. Just like the proverbial kid gets upset, takes his ball and leaves the court. Donald Trump is going to take his vote and he's going to leave. And I believe he's going to tell his Republican followers, his MAGA followers, not to vote for Nikki Haley, that they are not to, vote for anyone other than Trump. Because as we know, it's all about Trump. It's 100% about Trump. It's not about the party. It's not about the country. It's all about Trump. And I believe that he's going to tell them not to vote for Nikki Haley, which may open up a window, very, very small window, for Biden to win the next election. If Republicans are just so upset because Trump is not around that they just decide to check out. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I believe that Donald Trump, he has the most incentive to win the presidency because he has so many legal issues going on. He's been accused of 91 felonies, which obviously in the court of white law, I mean, we probably should make sure we specify that he is innocent until proven guilty. So he will have his day in court. However, if Donald Trump is found guilty and first off, he's going to just appeal it. He's just going to exhaust every appeal imaginable. So he's probably never going to see jail time. That's just not even something that's even realistic, right? He's going to just appeal, and just try to run out the clock on all of these cases. That's what he's done historically. That's what he's going to do, if he is to be convicted of any of these crimes. Now, if he wins the presidency, forget about those convictions at all. They just going to get tossed. I mean, it's just as simple as that. They're just going to toss every lawsuit, every criminal proceedings. He's just going to bury it. At least for the next 4 years, and then after that, it's gonna be that appeal process that I just mentioned earlier. So Donald Trump ain't going to jail. Donald Trump is going to appeal it until he's exhausted every appeal, which could be years, get tied up in years. But also, if Donald Trump wins the presidency, he's just gonna pardon himself, and that's just gonna be over. Now, about Nikki Haley. So Nikki Haley is a very just I don't even really want to call her interesting because she's not really interesting because she is exactly how everyone would think that a Republican politician would be, even a person of color. So Nikki Haley, Nimrata Haley, is of Indian, you know, the country India, Indian descent, which means that she's a minority. However, um, when you live in a culture that is an American culture that is dominated by white supremacy and white superiority and white patriarch society, you have minorities who have been conditioned to believe that they have to become a part of this white supremacy culture in order to be accepted. And that is pretty much Nikki Haley. I mean, she's a minority, but she says ridiculous things like there's no such thing, that the country has never been racist. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But in the same breath, she says that she herself and her parents have suffered from racism. So, lady, you're not even making much sense. So just curious to see how this fight between two people that are clueless, unaware, totally biased. How is this fight going to play out in the next couple of months up through the Republican primary? So, but I do believe that Donald Trump is going to win the nomination. But on the other side, you have the Republicans. So you have Joe Biden. Joe Biden is one, if not the most unpopular president that there's ever been. And I don't think that Joe Biden is the most terrible president, but for whatever reason, his approval ratings are terrible. It might maybe the worst, or if not the worst in history. I mean, people they just don't like Joe Biden. They just don't think that he is doing a good job running the country. You bring up things like inflation. You bring up things like like the George Floyd Justice and Police Act that was never even brought up to Congress. I know some of that is our not brother Tim Scott. Some of that is him. Most of that is him. But unfortunately, the administration is only going to be judged on the things that they did not do. They're not going to be judged on the things that they did do. So people just hate Biden. I mean, it doesn't matter how much student loan Biden gets forgiven and how much he's even attempted to get forgiven, which has been fought tooth and nail by the Republicans. But like I said, it really doesn't matter, what you do. Politics and presidents are judged on what you didn't do. So Biden is extremely, extremely unpopular. People, think he's too old, which I think is interesting because I think Trump is only 2 years younger than Biden. But for whatever reason, Trump just comes off as just the more energetic candidate, the more energetic person. Just the person that just has just more charisma, more bounce than Biden can ever have, and probably has ever had. So the age thing hurts Biden more than it hurts Trump, which I think is fascinating. I think is interesting. Question that I have gotten from a few people is, should Biden step away, and why haven't the Democrats gotten anyone in line to succeed Biden in the party? Like, why have they not set someone up? And I think that this question is complicated for me, but I believe that the Democrats have been terrible in their treatment of Kamala Harris. I think that Kamala Harris should be the natural successor of Joe Biden. I believe that that's what you should do. You should build up vice presidents in order to use their position as vice president as a just as a name recognition to be able to continue whatever the policies that the president has has set forth, just as a team. And I know that historically vice presidents are nameless. They are the folks that no one knows about, no one cares about, no one remembers. Even as a kid, you get quizzed on the presidents, you don't get quizzed on the vice presidents. So historically, vice presidents have been seen and not heard. And when I think about presidents and vice presidents during my lifetime, or even the lifetime that I have even followed politics to any degree, I think about Mike Pence. Mike Pence wasn't anything special. I mean, he had his political career before he became vice president, but he, as vice president, didn't really do much. Didn't really, wasn't really showcased as someone who should be taken serious, or somebody who, should be, looked at as a successor to Trump. It's always about Trump, and we get that part. But even when you go back to Barack Obama, Joe Biden was around, but we didn't know what Joe Biden was doing. I mean, I will say that I saw Joe Biden more than I feel like I've seen Kamala Harris. I feel like every time you saw Barack Obama, you saw Joe Biden. And I think that, that helped, for Joe's national profile. I mean, people knew Joe Biden, but I mean, seeing him almost daily, and every time there was you saw Barack Obama, he's giving, whatever type of address that he's giving, you always saw Joe Biden there. I do remember that. So I kind of feel like a part of that is, Joe's a white guy, so I think that, just naturally people are just gonna, kind of like gravitate towards Joe Biden, just because of the type of, society that we live in. But when I think about Bush, I think about Bush second. I don't think that vice president historically have been given any real platform. However, I think in this situation, the Democrats should have looked at Kamala Harris as someone who in 4 years should have been put in a better place to be able to take over for Joe Biden if he has any type of health issues, but to just be his successor if he wanted to step away. And I think that they did a terrible job of making her look palatable for the American people. I mean, if anything, they should have over communicated how great she was, over communicated her expertise, over communicated how amazing of a job that she was doing. Whether or not she was, it's really a matter of opinion. I mean, it's politics, so it's going to be critiques on all ends. But I think it was the Democrats' responsibility to put Kamala Harris in the forefront, to be able to increase her profile, so it would be much easier to transition to her, especially considering that she's black and she's a woman. And we all know the history of black women in this country. We know that they have to work the hardest. They get the least amount of recognition. And that just continued. So I think that is a major complaint that I have, and I continue to have with the Democratic Party, is their treatment of Kamala Harris and not putting her in a position to succeed in her job, to gain respect in her job, but also to treat her differently than vice presidents have been treated throughout history. That you needed to over communicate how great she was, and they did not. And immediately the Republicans saw that. I mean, they seized every opportunity to slam her, every opportunity to slander her, every opportunity to have hit pieces on her, to discredit her. Doesn't even matter that a lot of her policies were like, things that we in the black community didn't even really bang with. But they just continue to just send just negative stories after negative stories towards her. And I don't feel like the Democrats defended her enough. I don't feel like the Democrats put her in the position to succeed. So now we're pretty much stuck with Joe Biden, because his natural successor is not someone who has been given the opportunity to gain the trust and really to gain and earn the vote of the American people. And like I said, because she's black and a woman, that was going to be hard anyway. So you had to kind of over communicate that point. So some people ask, well, why not run a primary? Why not just get 10 candidates like the Republicans, have them fight it out, and then if Joe comes up on top, Joe is the is a nominee. And I had to do a little bit of research to see if incumbent presidents do have serious primary challenges, or is it just like ceremonial? Is it just like somebody who is just there, just as another voice? Is it normal for parties to not, to not have a challenger for an incumbent, for a person that's already president to have a primary challenge? And it is pretty common. It's pretty common. From what I can find on Google, it's pretty common that incumbent presidents do have primary challengers. However, those challengers are never anyone that's a threat, to the party, or a threat to take over that position. It's always normally ceremonial. But so I wanted to throw that bit out there. It is unusual for it to be no challenge at all. It's unusual, but not unheard of. So a lot of people did ask that question, like, why not have a primary? Why not, run some folks out there? Now, my opinion, is the reason why you don't do that is, you do the calculations, and you come to the conclusion that if you have a primary challenger, that person is going to challenge anything that is questionable about Joe Biden's performance. And now the Republicans have a very easy way of attacking Joe Biden. If he is the nominee, they can just use another Democrat's words to attack Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't do this. Joe Biden didn't do that. And all they're gonna do is just chop it up into sound bites, chop it up into 10-second, clips, to be able to make it like even the Democrats think that Joe Biden is doing a terrible job. So I believe that was the calculus. Let's not make it easy for the Republicans by us, having a primary, and them being able to use whatever exchange between Biden and whoever the challenger is, whatever that exchange is, that the Republicans use that exchange against Joe Biden in the general election. So I think that's the reason why they did not choose to do that. Now I do have a wild card theory on what the Democrats are planning on doing. I think it would be part sinister, but also part ingenious. And what I think that they could do is that they could put all their chips on the table. Joe Biden. If Joe Biden wins, that 6 months into his presidency, he resigns for health reasons, and Kamala Harris becomes the first black president. The first black and female president, and certainly the first female president, because they know she couldn't win on her own. Unfortunately, they have not put the energy behind her even being a viable candidate. So that would be just some next level Jedi mind trick type of scenario, where they have Joe Biden win, and in a few months he resigns for health reasons, and now we still have the party nomination, we still have the chair of the president, but it's no longer Joe Biden. So that's kind of what I think would be. That's just a wild card theory that I'm throwing out there. Just something that I think is interesting. Is an interesting thought, and would be an absolute, like I said, Jedi mind trick type of long term political plan. I don't think that they would do something like that. However, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that is not happening in the background. So, that's pretty much all I got for this, for this topic. Just a little update and just a little recap on what's going on politically in the country. If you like this conversation, please don't hesitate to like this video, whether or not you see it on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, or YouTube. Please subscribe if you're watching this video on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the notification so you can be notified when a new video drops. But like I said, don't forget to like. If this is a conversation that you like hearing, some things in here that you may have agreed with, don't hesitate to like. Also, don't hesitate to subscribe. Make sure that you can subscribe to this channel so you can be notified whenever we have something new popping up on here. And lastly, don't forget to comment and engage with the channel and engage with the content. The more you like, the more you comment, the more YouTube and all these social media sites believes that this is a conversation that people want to have, and they will start recommending these videos, and we can further have this conversation. So, like I said, thank you everyone who has taken part in these conversations. Thank you everyone that has reached out, and I will talk to you guys at a later date. Thank you.